I heard my husband come in downstairs, but didn't go down to greet him yet. I was still kneeling after my evening prayers, which I'd just finished, and needed a few more minutes. The day had been a stressful one. Certainly not one of those boring shifts everyone in an ER hoped for. And though my prayers had calmed me and cleared my mind, I wasn't ready to leave the tranquility of my salat room quite yet. Gabe would understand. He always did. He knew what my job demanded of me and that this part of my day kept me sane. It was why he'd remodeled this room for me in the first place. When I'd come back from my Hajj pilgrimage to Mecca last year, he'd surprised me with the addition to our bedroom. With the help and guidance of my imam, he'd built the tiny room, and he'd even had a well dug specifically to supply water to a small fountain for wudu, the washing ritual that preceded salat. I smiled in my quiet, dimly lit room. Despite the struggles, I was a blessed man. Had been for the last 11 years. Eyes closed, I took a few more slow, relaxing breaths and then rose. I left the room, paused for a moment to adapt to the hallway's brighter light, and then went downstairs. He was in the kitchen, pulling empty plastic containers from his lunch bag, and smiled when I came in. "Hey, how was your day?" I groaned. "That bad?" "That bad." "Well," he set the dishes down and smiled as he wrapped his arms around me. "You said you wanted an interesting job." And that's exactly what I got. I kissed his forehead. I had to reset the counter, though. "What?" His eyes widened. "You were almost to a new record, weren't you?" "Yep. 2 more days and I'd have beaten the old one, but..." I shook my head. "Some guy came in today and started ranting about how he knew Obamacare was bad, but he didn't think he'd been seen by Al-Qaeda." I rolled my eyes. Gabe smothered a laugh. "I'm sorry." I chuckled. "Sure you are. But yeah, counter's back to 0. A few years ago, my co-workers had put up a chart that said, "Days since Shahid's been called a terrorist." And each day we updated the number. I'd almost had a new record this time, 22 consecutive days. Oh well. What about you? How was your day? Gabe shrugged, resting his hands on my waist. "Nothing terribly exciting. Someone in my 5th period chemistry class managed to sacrifice an eyebrow to a Bunsen burner, and one of my cross-country runners turned an ankle, but otherwise it was a quiet day." "How bad is his ankle?" "I'll know for sure tomorrow, but I suspect it'll be fine after a few days of ice and taking it easy." "Good." I eyed him. "You're not supposed to break them, you know." "Why not? Keeps you in business, doesn't it?" I clicked my tongue and jabbed his side playfully. "I'm just saying," he said. "And besides, it wasn't my fault." He rolled his eyes. "Kid was supposed to be watching where he was going, but he was too busy watching where one of the female runners was going." "Typical teenager." "Right?" He kissed me again and then gently stepped out of my embrace. As he continued cleaning his lunch dishes, he said, "Any thoughts about dinner?" "I pulled chicken this morning. Hadn't really decided what to do with it." "Well, chicken is your domain." He tucked his lunch bag under the counter. "Whatever you want to do." "Fair enough." I started digging through the refrigerator for some vegetables to go with it. After 3 solid days of reheated food that had to be reheated again after I got called away, the mere thought of a hot, home-cooked meal that nobody could interrupt made my mouth water. Gabe went around the kitchen island, and he hung out while I started cooking. He didn't say much, though. Now that we'd said hello and asked about each other's days, he wasn't so chatty. Which was weird. While I went through the motions of preparing dinner, he sat at the island, loosely grasping a glass of water, but didn't say much. Whenever I glanced at him, his gaze was fixed on something in the distance, either outside the kitchen window or something unseen on the floor, the counter, the wall. Of course, I knew exactly what was on his mind. It had been on mine, too.